Alright, welcome back. We're doing the part 2 of the Dr. Kondraki uh,
Arc.
SCP-083 termination, otherwise known as
And
Duke Till Dawn.
the Dr. Kondraki arc, bro. Best arc in Jujutsu Kaisen so far.
Bruh. Alright, so where we left off, Dr. Kondraki led SCP-083 in front of SCP-682, the Immortal Lizard cell, and he used something to destroy SCP-682 cell, and it is about to escape. So now we're going to read a few more post-incident interviews. So this one is from an interviewer in Dr. Gears. Um, First, Dr. Gears says, reckless is a relative term. Viewed purely from a vantage point of the termination test carried out and against a nearly invulnerable humanoid SCP object, Dr. Kondraki's test achieved only a low to medium degree of collateral damage. Interviewer: so you feel that Dr. Kondraki's actions were acceptable? Dr. Gear says, he achieved his intended goal. However, the loss of manpower, multiple containment breaches, and widespread damage to Site-19 and a general lack of planning represent a gross oversight on the part of Dr. Kondraki. Interviewer: demolishing a good chunk of a site is a little bit more of an oversight in planning. Dr. Gears says, sir, if I may say, I think we are focusing on the wrong direction. We assume that Dr. Kondraki is a quote-unquote loose cannon, a person who is reckless and puts zero foresight into anything he does. However, this is a narrow and dangerous assumption. Interviewer: what are you talking about? Dr. Gears: the human brain has a tendency to view a highly complex and rapid pattern as random events. I believe that Dr. Kondraki used the termination of SCP-083 as an excuse and the resulting highly destructive quote-unquote chase and the containment breach is as a distraction. Interviewer: so you're saying he planned it? Dr. Gears: not in a traditional sense. To use a mathematical example, he started with the solution, and he worked backwards to create the problem. The multiple containment failures of the evacuation of items SCP 083 and its attacks on the site staff, these are all stretched the resources of Site 19 to a dangerously thin level. This allowed him to achieve what I hypothesized to be his true goal, which would be to ride SCP 682.
Oh my gosh. You gotta be kidding me. Like, for real?
Excerpt from post incident interview 083 clef 01. Wait, what? End log.
Oh, well. Uh, I think that would be my reaction too, not gonna lie.
Dr. Gears is
It
a
is.
very deadpan and like a emotionally like unavailable doctor. He's very straightforward and to the point. Some people think that Dr. Gears is a robot, but this has never been proven or denied.
And their evidence why you think he's called Dr. Gears, huh?
Also, one time he was heavily injured during testing, but he simply insisted that they continue the test until it was over. He's a weird individual.
Oh,
There's not enough
I,
lore to actually talk about him, but Dr. Gears himself is actually one of the authors on the SCP site and has wrote and I believe he's the author of the Immortal Lizard and several other big articles on the site.
I mean, it makes sense in a
That it
way.
does. Okay. Audio log C-682-K. Dr. Kondraki. Well, well, well. Look where we've ended up now, Duke. Any guesses as to what's behind door number 1? SCP-038.
Oh God.
I couldn't give less of a damn because all I know is that I cut off the entrance to this area as I came in. You're trapped in here, Doctor. Trapped with me. And I'm going to enjoy every moment of it. I feel like this SCP should have, like, an accent. I'm gonna give him an accent. I couldn't give less of a damn because all I know is that I've cut off the entrance to this area as I came in. You're trapped in here, Doctor. Trapped in here with me. And I'm going to enjoy every
You
minute
bloody
of it.
wanker.
Dr. Kondraki. I figured you'd do something like that. I'll admit, this wasn't the best place to make a tactical retreat, but I still do have my trump. And what's that? Those stupid butterflies. You can't hide forever. And I will find you. Oh God, I can't wait to see your face. Gestures to the megaphone. But first, why don't we invite our friend to come out in this little room? Dr. Kondraki begins screaming a series of obscenities into the megaphones. SCP-083 attempts to cover his ears to no effect. SCP-038, what are you? Roars and sounds of buckling metal and cracking concrete fill the air. SCP-038 looks behind him. You son of a transmission lost.
What a guy.
It was at this point that Command for Site-19 made the decision to quarantine all of Sector 3 for floors 7 through 15, sealing it from top to bottom, effectively sealing everything within the premises. With SCP-682 on the loose, SCP-038 still a threat, and Dr. Kondraki still breathing, it was hoped that the three would end up killing each other, with the survivor being significantly weakened by the preceding brawl. Containment teams would move in to restore order. There were several unforeseen issues with this plan, namely the accounting for SCP-682, who was contained in the sector on a purely temporary basis, or Dr. Kondraki's ingenuity. If it had taken such things into consideration, it would have been wise to have suggested the use of nuclear weaponry. And this was said by a member of the O5 Council.
Well.
Yeah. Security log C-682-K. Dr. Kondraki is able to escape the initial charge of 682 as it plows through the room, disappearing once again in a cloud of SCP-408, the butterflies. SCP-083 is seen engaging SCP-682, looking severely damaged from the assault, but rapid regeneration is already observed, helping him recover. SCP-083 is attempting to speak to SCP-682. SCP-682 pauses for a moment and quote-unquote speaks for a moment. Without warning, 682 strikes at SCP-083 and tosses him across a room while severing two of his arms and one leg. SCP-083 attempts to retreat and regenerate, but isn't able to make distance between himself and SCP-682. SCP-682 devours SCP-083 whole. No activity until a large rearing motion is made back. Dr. Kondraki is seen now on the back of SCP-682, holding two ends of the high-tension cable he had recovered earlier. The rest was...
This man just...
Yeah. The rest was fitted...
I know this man did not just make rings.
The rest was fitted into an improvised set of reins. But Dr. Kondraki
Oh my
is
god.
observed, quote-unquote, riding SCP-682 while hollering something and waving his hat with his free hand. SCP-682 enters an enraged state and makes a powerful charge towards the entrance. It easily plows through the obstructions made by SCP-083 and then through the ceiling walls. Dr. Kondraki and SCP-682 have breached quarantine, full evacuation protocols now in motion. Here's another quote from the same O5 council member. It was obvious that
God.
Yeah, he just rides 682. What about it?
Hey, continue.
Like a goddamn horse. Anywho, it was obvious at this point that
And
things
he
had
didn't
truly
die.
escalated out of control. SCP
At
08
this point,
SCP
at
08
this point, things are escalating way fast at this point. At this point, we're not seeing the freaking nuke. We're seeing apocalypse now at this point. God dang it. we're seeing Mad Max Fury Road over here. and this dude has the balls to say, at this point, we're seeing things are escalating. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with these people?
SCP-083 had been presumed neutralized, yes, but at the cost of releasing SCP-682 into Site-19 without proper personnel intact to enact containment procedures, much like causing a flood to put out a kitchen fire. Dr. Kondraki's actions would be put the entirety of Site-19 in grave danger. Most of the site's personnel had already been fully evacuated, while the emergency teams had attempted to stem the losses and mitigate the damages that they could. The entire situation had become an unmanageable mess. Ironically, that's exactly the kind of mess Dr. Kondraki excels at managing. End quote.
Dude, sometimes you just gotta learn how to bend the knee. Like you just gotta learn how to just just kneel on the field. It's like you gotta know when you're done. These guys were done before it even started.
I think Dr. Kondraki is pretty far from done.
Oh no, I'm not talking about Dr. Kondraki. I'm talking about the people watching over Dr. Kondraki.
Yeah, they're like, we probably should just
Like-
detonate the nuke. Like, this is definitely like worst case scenario right here.
I don't think this is worst case scenario, honestly.
How could it get
I
any
can see
worse?
this being way worse. I can see
Anywho,
this getting way worse.
security log C dash.
You know,
Continue.
I was about to say it's all fun and games until Dr. Kondraki goes over to God and he's like, "Hey, so you know about the Scarlet King, right?"
Oh no. Dr. Kondraki stays atop SCP-682 for the duration, holding on despite the rapid jerking motions made by SCP-682 during its run. SCP-682 begins to adapt at what? That doesn't make sense. I'm probably misreading something. SCP-682 begins to adapt as seen in previous observations. I don't know what that means. Does adapt? Yeah, I'm an idiot. Begins to adapt as seen in previous observation, having incurred noticeable damage in its attempt to break through various obstacles. Spikes of a bone-like material begin to shoot up from its back in attempt to kill or harm Dr. Kondraki. Dr. Kondraki incurs several wounds by this manner, but is able to avoid most of the protrusions. He attempts to make a hard turn while pulling against the cables, and is able to direct SCP-682 from his course. SCP-682 continues to charge forward, now directed towards the personnel dormitories. During its dash, SCP-682 breaks through SCP-173's containment at this time, both SCP-682 and Dr. Kondraki are observed to keep direct eye contact with SCP-173, Peanut, uh,
God
dis-
dang it. Jesus Christ.
despite each
Wait, does
continuing
that
the...
mean Peanut can kill a wizard?
Well, it would try. It would be temporary. It would only be temporary. Because it can always regen. But a broken neck's a broken neck. Despite
Yeah,
each
I can see
continuing
how
their
that would be
attempts to
painful.
outmaneuver one another. So now they're trying to buck each other off, as SCP-173 is literally like right there. Which is very funny.
Oh my gosh, this isn't even a war of attrition anymore. This is like, okay, who knows the most dangerous places in this whole thing to go?
Pretty fucking
Like,
much.
at this point, all you really need is Shy Guy to show up and be like, "Look at that!" And then the Immortal Lizard looks, and it's like, "Oh boy, here we go." Ay,
Oof.
ay, ay.
Dr.
Don't tell me that.
Kondraki is observed to speak to SCP 682, and a series of growls are recorded matching SCP 682's quote unquote voice. SCP 682 begins to crash its back into walls and ceilings, trying to crush the Doctor. The apparent conversation continues. Dr. Kondraki appears to laugh and then make another harsh tug as he redirects 682 once more into the personnel cafeteria after checking a device on his wrist. SCP-682 crashes through the second quarantine dividers and arrives at the personnel sector. Dr. Kondraki waits until SCP-682 arrives in the cafeteria, holding onto the cables. He vaults forward with tremendous force, swinging up and over SCP-682's head. 682 now attempts to bite down on Dr. Kondraki as he scrambles to sit in a lone chair placed at the end of a table. Dr. Kondraki vanishes from visual contact as SCP-682 devours him. SCP-682 continues to cause further structural damage and begins advancing towards current evacuation zone. Audio log 682-K. Dr. Kondraki, you really hold a grudge, don't you? You are by far the most annoying of your species I've ever encountered. Killing you will be a
How you think
favor
we feel?
for your whole reality. No need to do me any favors, Godzilla. Since you made lunch of the vampire, why don't you just let me off and call things square? Sounds of crunching
This dude did
concrete and
not just
stressed
call this
metal.
man Godzilla.
He fucking did. I guess
Like,
that's
so
not an
what, King
option.
Ghidorah?
How about you just take me to take me to my take me to my ride and I'll get out of your hair. Not only are you the most annoying, but you lack of common sense. The only way this ends is with you dead and rotting faster than you already are. Well, fair enough. Let's try that.
Well,
That might be the first thing I've ever heard of one of your repulsive things that I've actually agreed with. The sounds of metal scrapping against enamel cancels out any conversation. A sickening snap of SCP-682 jaws concludes the recording. Evacuation log.
this dude just he really didn't give a crap. Like,
Not a single fuck.
ay, ay, ay. So you know how like there's this saying, right? That is like, a man there's always like versions of the saying like, oh, what was it? It's something about a woman scorned. There is no fury like a woman that's scorned, something around that manner. But there's like a men's version of it. Like a man who has something to protect is fearsome, but a man who has nothing to protect is the most dangerous person.
I think you mean
That's
nothing to
Dr.
lose.
Kondraki in. Yes, yes. Uh, the most dangerous person on the planet is a man with nothing to lose. That's Dr. Kondraki in a nutshell.
Uh, evacuation log. S-E-19. Removal of safe and Euclid items from Site 19 continue. Transport to helipads A-E are temporary for temporary off-site containment goes well despite the current chaos. For the sake of relevance, this log has been redacted to focus on SCP-298 and the events in hallway D-17. SCP-298. Several security level 1 personnel are used to transport SCP-298 due to its large size with a width that takes up most of the hallway. I'm going to quickly check what this is and see if I know it and see if it's important for this. SCP-298. It's class safe. Uh, huh. From what I can see here, it looks like a big vat of organs? That seems like what it is. Anywho, personnel are transporting this. Due to its large size, blah blah takes off the hallway. One of the personnel is seated on top of SCP-298 as it is carried away. Mock playing the organ audio logs confirm that the seated employee has won some form of a bet previous to the incident. An explosion occurs elsewhere, causing a tremor. Several personnel falter, and SCP-298 is dropped. An odd sound is heard as they noticed by several of the men. The sound is now confirmed to be that of displaced air. The personnel move to the back of the. It's a big organ. The personnel move to the back of the organ as they begin to hear a struggle. Dr. Kondraki is spotted having incurred several injuries, making a leap as he bounds over SCP-298. SCP-038 is also spotted covered in an unknown fluid as he rounds a corner after Dr. Kondraki, but only spots several personnel and the organ seen speaking. Dr. Kondraki directs the man next to him to begin playing. Oh god. So, Mr. Vampire Man managed to get out of the lizard and is now chasing Dr. Kondraki once again.
Oh my gosh.
Audio log C-298-K-083. SCP-083.
The fact that this is still going is amazing.
Oh yeah. SCP-038.
We're just getting started.
SCP-038 yelling, "Where is he? You must have seen him. Tell me where he is, and I might not kill all of you." I'm switching accents. Whoops. Personnel 1-298-3. Who? The crazy guy who just ran past. He's right behind this thing. Good. Maybe I'll even add you to my security detail. What an honor that would be. What the hell is that sound? It's Bach. Bach. It's Bach. I like to call it "Sucks to Be You" overture. SCP-038 begins to scream. Oh, is that my blood? What are you doing to my blood? Personnel-2. Should I keep playing, sir? Don't you dare stop, not even for a moment. Stop! I'll do whatever you want, anything, just stop playing that thing, I can't! So I was right. You can't regenerate your blood. I don't want to die. I shouldn't have to die, not me! I'm not like you! Everyone dies, Duke. Just matters who dies on a given day. And today is your lucky day. You son of a... expires.
Okay, Dirty Harry.
I think he finally dies because it ends with expires. Hopefully, we'll see.
Well, I would call that a very successful killing of an SCP. You know, all things considered, this could have been way worse.
There are 3 logs left.
Oh no.
SCP, this is security log. SCP-083's blood is drained from his body by the effect of SCP-298's music. It forms into a solid gel in the air, appearing as branches on a leafless tree. Dr. Kondraki moves from SCP-298's platform, instructing him to keep playing. He disappears into a room down the hall. SCP-083's blood is now completely drained, causing his I'm just gonna say dehydrated corpse to fall prone. His body seems to have undergone extremely rapid decomposition, the corpse being reduced to a hollow skeleton within a minute. Dr. Kondraki returns with a glass container and instructs the player to stop. He begins to collect the gelled blood from the air, placing it in a clear container. After less than a minute, the blood liquefies. Personnel appear to lack comprehension of the event that just occurred. Dr. Kondraki seals the container and approaches the skeleton. Retrieving the skull, he places it under his arm. Dr. Kondraki exits Site-19 via helicopter with little trouble, assumed to be part of the evac team. Personnel are still somewhat stunned that the Claxtons remind them that SCP-682 is still loose within Site-19. Excerpt from Post-Incident Interview 083-AR-9-59. Interviewer: So, you do not think Dr. Kondraki behaved recklessly? Doctor writes, I didn't say that, but relatively compared to some of the things he's done, at least this one almost had a plan.
Dude, imagine that. Imagine you being so freaking chaotic that you do all this crap, and yet someone says, honestly, compared to the other stuff, this is actually pretty tame. You should be lucky that you still have a sight. Like, what the heck?
Like, at least this one almost had a plan, or some facsimile of one. Interviewer: You viewed the entirety of the logs, yes? Yep, all of it. A few times, actually. And I had to review my favorite parts. Interviewer: And you have no worries about Dr. Kondraki being a liability or a danger. Look, the man's a master of the indie ploy. Yeah. And sometimes, actually, all the time, there's collateral damage. But that doesn't change the fact that he is, in some bizarre way, knows what he's doing. And hey, if it saved my ass a few dozen times over, that doesn't hurt. Interviewer: So your personal opinion is that he is not a liability? Not as much as Edward F. and Colin. There. I mean, I've just got as big as a vampire fetish as the next girl who grew up reading Anne Rice. But come on. Plus, throwing cat pee on him? That was beautiful. Interviewer:
What a guy.
And in your professional opinion, having worked with Dr. Kondraki in the past, you clearly haven't been to Site-17 lately. Professional is not my forte. Or Kondraki's, for the matter. Shame about Site-19, though. At least it went out in a blaze of badassery.
What a guy! I love these guys.
End interview.
Whoever said that, oh my gosh, like, Jesus Christ, what kind of mad lads do they have at the SCP?
Everyone's a little bit cracked
Like,
at the SCP facility.
freaking, it's like, you're saying he's not a liability. Man, not as much a liability as these other guys.
Break room surveillance log
Imagine
S17-redacted-redacted-redacted. Dr. Redacted.
Oh my God.
Actually, this is number one Dr. Redacted. Number one Dr. Redacted. Oh my God, how does he keep making things worse? Dr. Redacted 2. No idea. This thing is on a delay too. By this time, he's probably leveled the whole facility. Is he riding 682? Doctor Doctor Redacted 1. Dr. Redacted 1. I can't believe I work for this guy. I have half a mind to tell that moron off myself and resign. Dr. Kondraki. Oh, what are you guys watching? Oh, Dr. Redacted 1. Nothing. Just our... Oh, nothing. Just our boss wrecking the Foundation's biggest site. Can you believe that guy? Wow, Dr. Kondraki. Wow. This is pretty intense. Dude, you might want to cut the chatter from Redacted 2. Redacted 1. lay off it. It's not like he's gonna know what I know. I said it. If I could get away with it, I'd like to terminate him. Dr. Kondraki. Terminate who? I like this talk already. Dr. Redacted 1. I think I've seen enough. I'm gonna go take a walk. Dr. Kondraki. Dibs on your seat. Anyone got popcorn?
Oh no.
And
there
that
is
is
no way that they killed
the
him.
whole thing.
There is absolutely no way that they terminated him. No way. It's just that, because to be fair, he did complete the mission. He did get it done.
Yeah,
Sure.
but
it was one of the messiest ways possible. But hey,
he could have just used that fucking organ from the beginning.
Well, what's the fun in that, Andrew?
What do you mean, what's the fun in that?
Come on. That dude rode the immortal lizard. What a guy.
I still
No,
love
I'm
that
not saying
first
I
interview
would
from
do
Dr.
that.
Bright. That shit was like absolute fucking gold. Interviewer. And after reviewing the logs, do you think Dr. Kondraki acted recklessly? Bright. Silence. Interviewer. Dr. Bright? Bright. This tape, it's undoctored. Interviewer. That is correct, Dr. Bright. Dr. Bright shows signs of agitation, swearing in several different languages and throwing equipment around the room. Dr. Bright, what's the matter? Not only did I bet that asshole $5,000 that he wouldn't be able to throw cat piss at 083, but he didn't even have the good grace to die during the termination. Do you realize how much I'm gonna lose paying out on that? Fuck!
That's what you get, idiot.
Oh god, I love that shit so much. So good, so good.
Oh my gosh. Like that is beautiful. Simply beautiful.
So recapping this whole story.
I never knew that.
They had someone who was going to perform a termination on 083. Dr. Kondraki, as the site director, took over using his authority in order to terminate 083. He then proceeds to get his gun taken away during the termination. He pulls a backup out from underneath the table, throws cat piss mixed with garlic juice on top of 083, flips the tape on top of him, caps him, stakes him in the chest, walks out of the containment cell. 083 gets back up and starts chasing after him. At this point, he starts fucking running, causing waves of chaos in his wake. Just fucking going. Just sprinting. Until he uses his various SCPs to get far enough away where he gets cornered in 682's cell, where he agitates 682 so much that he bursts through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man and eats 083. Then Kondraki proceeds to ride the immortal lizard into Peanut's enclosure, where they both have to stare at it, and then they zip out into the cafeteria, where Dr. Kondraki gets flipped off of the immortal lizard, and 083 breaks out of the immortal lizard's stomach and continues chasing Dr. Kondraki, where they end up at a pipe organ, where he eventually terminates fucking 083. But now 682's on the loose, and so is 173, which isn't really a problem. He's kind of easy to contain. Which is why, like, no one at the facility has tried to terminate him.
Needless to say, I think that was a flawless operation.
Flawless.
Honestly, in all
What went
honesty,
wrong?
there was nothing went wrong. The plan seemed so clear to me. Good God, man, that was one of the most. I want Madhouse to animate that crap because
Dr.
that's so
Kondraki is
ridiculous.
currently MIA.
There's no way that he's dead. There's no way.
Well, yeah,
There's
all of
no way that they
SCP,
killed him.
everything on the SCP article is all open source for literally anything. Like anyone to do anything with it. So if an anime studio wanted to pick this up, they absolutely could. There is no legal rights to protect any of this. And it's kind of encouraged that people make stuff out of it because it gets SCP further in the spotlight.
Yeah, it's I forget what it's actually called, but I think it's no, it's Creative Commons,
Yes.
which a lot of people do not realize that Creative Commons is one of the godsends of copyright.
Yes.
It's very rare to see something that's like Creative Commons without it actually being forced into Creative Commons.
God, I would love to like
Uh,
make an animatic of this. I obviously know I don't have the skills to do that, but like getting like our friends to voice act a bunch of these characters and like these security logs and shit, it would be so fucking good.
God, it'd be so fun, but it would be so hard.
Well, yeah, like fully animating it, I feel like would be like way too much work. But like doing a few pictures for each of the interviews and switching back and forth from them, I don't think it would be that hard. Like most of the stuff that happens is like over like security logs and stuff. Like I don't think it would be like like it would be like work, but I don't think it would be too like difficult because half of this is just
He's
interview
freaking
logs.
riding the immortal lizard.
Yeah,
Like,
because like
he probably burned
I
the
just
entire site. Is
summarized
he riding
I just summarized the whole thing in like a minute 30 seconds. Like throws cat piss on this dude, stakes him in the heart, leaves, gets chased, uses SCPs to get away. Immortal Lizard breaks out, eats 083. He rides him for a bit, bursts into Peanut's enclosure. 083 escapes the Immortal Lizard, continues chasing Kondraki. Organ kills him. End scene. Oh, and then break room. And then all the rest are interviews. Like half the stuff that I read was like what visually happened on the security cameras, and then what the audio logs got.
Needless to say, I would say that that was a 100% success on Dr. Kadraki's part. Honestly, like, let's be real. What did the SCP's association think that was going to happen? Did they think that Kadraki, knowing his history, this was going to be flawless? Like, it was going to be as precise and clean as a Doctor Who vision?
Mm.
Come on, man. You're dealing with Keldraki. If you tell him to blow up Atlanta, the shrapnel is gonna end up in freaking Michigan.
This is true.
It was like I don't know what they were expecting here.
And then next week
But
we're
that
gonna
was
be talking about we'll do Bright next week, and I hope
oh man,
there
Bright's just insane.
there might be too much to do with Doctor Bright, but we'll
We might
see.
have to split that into different parts and just do
Yeah, because I
them
might
at
find
different
another
times.
like big old story in order to do with Doctor Bright. And Doctor Wright's at the end was very funny. But I'm looking at like all the pages with the Doctor Bright tag, and oh my god, are there literally like over 100, well over 100.
Dr. Bright, for viewers, for those of you who do not know, Kondraki is insane, apparently. Dr. Bright is just a troll. Because Dr.
Pretty
Bright
much.
literally, just to give you a good example of what Dr. Bright is like, he keeps a picture of Shy Guy's face down in in his desk, just in case people go in, because why not?
Well, that's just how I depicted him. It's something he would do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I have no doubt in my mind that's something he would do. I wouldn't doubt that that is a a story somewhere on the SCP Foundation,
But
wherever.
there's a literal list of things called everything Dr. Bright isn't allowed to do in the in I think it's in Site 19 or something like that.
Needless to say, needless to say, honestly, you know what? I'm very curious. What would happen? Yeah, just out of curiosity, if you let Doctor, if you let Doctor not Bright, well, the one we were just talking about, Kondraki, with a lot of the SCPs, just causing havoc in the infinite IKEA. I wonder which one would give up first.
I don't know. I feel like he's well fucking
I
armed.
guarantee. I feel like the infinite IKEA would just spit him out. Like one day, like they're like, all right, it's day two, and the infinite IKEA just like, nope, take him back, take him back. I don't want it. I don't want it anymore. It's only been 2 days. I know. Take him back. He's already burned half of my stuff.
Yeah, it
But
definitely
you're
sounds
infinite.
about
I
right.
know that's the impressive part. I don't know how you burn half of infinity, but somehow he did it. Ay, ay, ay.
Oh no.
Anyway, yeah, that was fun. That was funny. What?
I'm just looking at some of the titles here, and oh my god. Oh my god.
Ah, man, that's gonna be fun. Doctor Bright is fun. I know I don't know a lot about Doctor Bright, but I know enough to get an image of my head, so nothing is going to surprise me.
Yeah, him and Clef are who I know the most about. Dr. Kondraki, that was kind of a spur of the moment type thing when I was looking into doctors.
I'm glad it was. I'm glad that we started with him first because Doctor
All the
Kondraki
doctors
has
have
become
very
my
unique
favorite doctor.
personalities with like all of their stuff. And like Kondraki's like
I just
he
like.
does interesting things, but like Dr. Bright, like he takes it to a whole different level. You know how like Kondraki got blamed for like all this shit. Dr. Bright will do that shit and just not get blamed because he will find some justification why what he did was for the good of the Foundation.
That's why we love him. Nah, man, like Doctor Bright. I I don't know. Doctor Bright be on some be wild and out. Like if Kondraki was a hit of LSD, Bright is a hit of meth.
Hit of meth.
That's a bad analogy, but
Anywho, I think we are
but
going to call it for today. I think yeah, we're like
this is
what
gonna be
42
fun.
minutes in. It's a bit of a shorter one, but this was the ending of a two-parter. Uh
Yes,
so
this is
yeah,
part two. Stick
Kondraki
in
the
next
butterfly
time when we
man.
talk about yeah, talk about butterfly effect. Anywho, stick in for next time when we talk about Dr. Bright. That one's gonna be a four-parter.
I'll probably like I don't think there's like a story like that one that's so obscene. There are definitely are stories with Dr. Bright, especially going through the document detailing everything he's not allowed to do in the facility because you know he at least did these at one point in order for them to get actually banned. But anyway, tune in
In
for
order
that.
for it to ban- in order for something to be banned, it had to be done at least once.
Yeah, this was a two-parter if you're just watching the second part for some reason. Second part should be up on the playlist on the channel. Keyshawn's channel link will be in the description below. And like this video if you liked it. And I
Yeah,
think
check out
that's
my
about it.
animation stuff if you're interested. All right, see you.
All right, see you later.